Hello, welcome to the Rock and Roll Station Podcast, Episode 3. My name is Mickey Kravitz. Hope you enjoyed Episode 1 and 2 with Lane Nolan and Tommy Gunn from the band Piper. Going to go down the same road today with another member of the band Piper, the bass player Danny McGary. But before we get to Danny, if you're looking for a great hair product line, this podcast is sponsored by Mickey Allen Kravitz, Mac Hair Products. Specialize in hair growth support shampoos, conditioners, purple shampoo and conditioner, eyelash, eyebrow growth serum, hair growth serum, hair paste, hairspray, argan oil. All available at Amazon or at machair.com, makhair.com. The band Piper released 2 records in the 70s, self-titled Piper and the second Can't Wait, which featured Billy Squier, Lane Nolan, Tommy Gunn, Richie Fontana, and today's guest, Danny McGary. On the phone, we have Danny McGary, bass player from Piper. How are you?
Very good, thanks.
Thank you so much for taking the time to call in. I've been a huge Piper fan my whole life. Those 2 records, I still listen to them to this day. By any chance, do you ever put those on?
Occasionally. I don't play them from... I don't play the entire album at one clip, but I'll pick off a song and I'll play it occasionally.
Right.
I haven't heard it in a few months.
They both stand up to this day.
Oh, I appreciate you saying that.
Now, you grew up in New York, and I'm sure at that time the music scene was pretty crazy, but when you first got into music, what made you get into music, and when did you first pick up the bass? Or did you play guitar first, like a lot of bass players?
I got into music after seeing Stevie Wonder at a Mary the K show.
Okay.
I was about as old as him, and he had a whole bunch of girls surrounding him, and so I said to myself, gee, that seems like a good idea.
Right.
And I started playing bass when I was 13.
And what was your first bass by any chance? Do you remember?
Sure. It was a Framus bass, just like, you know who, Bill Wyman.
Oh, do you still have it?
No. I still have my 56 Precision, though, that I used with Piper.
Cool. Now, you were in a lot of bands before Piper. What was your first band?
Oh, my very first band was a band called Wormwood Scrubs.
Okay.
And notoriety between that was that the record company was San Francisco Records, and I left about the day that the band got signed because the manager for the band was a guy named Shelley Finkel, who was famous for managing Mountain.
Oh, okay.
And originally Mountain consisted of a couple of players, and Shelley wanted to use those players instead of my original band. So they were going to keep me, but I decided if they were going to get rid of the drummer, I could do other things.
Right.
But they cut one LP, and that was it. And then I played with a lot of other bands. I played with Curtis Knight for a while, and I played with Jane County, who at the time was Wayne County. I was one of the original Backstreet Boys.
Wow.
Playing with Mark Bell, who went on to become Marco Ramone. So, yeah, I was playing in a lot of bands.
Did you keep up with... Oh, no, go on.
Yeah, in fact, I was playing in Wayne County, James County's band when Piper got signed to A&M.
Did you keep up with Marky Ramone? Did you guys stay in touch?
Oh, not really. Mark and I were very close when we were playing together because we both liked alcohol.
Don't we all?
Yeah, but we went our separate ways. I kept in touch with him to a degree. He also has a brother, Fred, who was also an excellent musician, very good guitar player.
Okay, so...
And in fact, one of Mark Bell's first bands was a band called Dust with the bass player Kenny Aronson from Brooklyn, who played with people like Journey and a whole bunch of other ones.
Right.
Billy. and who's now the bass player for the Yardbirds.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is pretty cool, I think. Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, so after Wayne Country, how did you meet Billy? Or did you find him? Did he find you? Did you see him around in other bands or anything like that?
Billy had played in Boston in a band called Magic Carrying the Universe. I never heard him, but Billy was a strong songwriter and a good guitar player. But he was never a front man. And we knew each other from hanging out in a club called Nobody's, which was on Bleecker Street in the Village in Manhattan. At one time, it was a meeting place for musicians in New York and for musicians from all over the world.
Okay.
And we knew each other from hearing about each other playing in other bands, and basically we knew that we were more or less serious. And Billy and Richie Fontana and myself played for Albert Grossman for a Columbia deal, which didn't get accepted, but it was good enough for Bill Aucoin from Aucoin Management to go wild. And he was the one that did everything for Piper that was possible.
Okay, so you and Billy and Richie recorded something. Is it still out there? Can anybody hear that? Before Piper?
It was never released. On the Piper album, The Road is one of the songs that we recorded for Albert Grossman.
Okay, but the rest of it is just shelved. We can't hear it.
Yeah.
Was
I don't think Richie or I have copies. I know I don't have a copy of any of the stuff that we did.
Was it on the same kind of lines as The Road?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't as heavy rock. It was more country rock.
Okay. So then Bill Aucoin loved that and then just wanted to put a band together for Billy?
Billy and Richie and I came as a package. Richie and I came as a package deal. And I think I was the person who recommended Tommy, but I don't really remember that well, because Tommy had played with a lot of friends of mine that I had worked with before, and he was a very, very good guitar player. He had worked in things like Broadway shows. I think he worked with the Technicolor Raincoat.
Yes.
And a couple of other things. He was a very accomplished musician. So we got Tommy, and Bill Aucoin actually found Alan Nolan.
Right. He was working with Stars at the time.
Yes, as a roadie.
Yeah. Now, when you guys get the whole band together, Billy, did he have all some of that material before all the other guys came into play? Or were you guys working as a three-piece before everybody else came in and working on those songs?
No, when we started working almost immediately as a five-piece band.
All right. And Billy doesn't write with a lot of people. But when you guys were working on 42nd Street, you guys both came up with that, right?
Yeah. I had the riff, and Billy put words to it.
It's a great song. In 1997, I started one of the first internet radio stations to have live audio and live video. And it took about 6 months for us to get that up and going with the servers and all that. And for 6 months, I was thinking, what's going to be the first song that I play? So happens 42nd Street. Perfect opening song to start the radio station.
Well, that makes me feel really wonderful.
It's a great song.
That.
Great song. Both. There's not a bad song on either one of those records. Now,
Billy and I had played together in a band before Piper.
Okay.
I don't know if you know about a band called Kicks, K-I-C-K-S. And the drummer in that band was Jerry Nolan, who went on to play with the New York Dolls.
Right.
And a guy named Jerry Hawkins, who was a singer and a guitar player, and he was very good too. But we'd rehearse on the second floor of a storefront on 42nd Street and 6th Avenue.
Oh.
And we rehearsed there, and we had this huge window in the loft building on the second floor.
Okay.
And probably nobody ever bothered at the time before 42nd Street got closed and got cleaned up to ever look on the second floor to see what was happening. But in those days, you had so much fun. It was so much entertainment to just look out your window and see what was going down on the sidewalk of 42nd Street and, that area.
You're right.
So it was very easy to come up with stuff. And Billy and I had a lot of fun, just working and kidding around and kibitzing. And, Billy was a lot more open during that band than he was with Piper.
Huh. Now, when you guys got Piper together, you didn't even play a gig before you got signed. You just went into rehearsals, got signed, and went and recorded, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you remember where the first gig was?
Well, let's see. We played, I remember Bill Aucoin. Bill Aucoin was really gracious with us. He put us into a club in Chicago to sort of like temper us. And we rehearsed a lot of the material from the first album there. We played with a band called Black Oak, Arkansas once.
That was the first gig?
And I think that was the first gig, yeah. We played
Wow.
with Black Oak, Arkansas. And frankly, we didn't go over as good because we didn't really have our act together before. At that point in time, I think that I had been the only player, and I don't want to push myself, but I had been the only player that played in front of more than a few hundred people. But I had done oldies work, and I had played in front of a couple of thousand at least.
Right.
So we were a little stage shy when we played with them. But that was, as far as I remember, that was the first gig of significance. We didn't go over too well.
Well,
And,
Jim Dandy, I mean.
yeah.
Okay, so then after that gig, then you set up I think the first tour was with Angel, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How did you like playing with those
We had a lot of
guys?
fun with them. Oh, they were great. They were very friendly. They were very nice guys, good musicians, and we had a lot of fun. And during that tour, they had a lot of magic tricks
Right.
as part of their routine, and I just thought it was so much fun to watch it.
Yeah, that's the first time I saw you guys. Kansas City, you and Angel. And then the second time I saw you was with the Babies, but both shows were amazing. And you wouldn't have known that you didn't have that much touring experience by seeing you guys live.
By the time we played with the Babies, we considered ourselves a machine. And if things went right, as they did on a couple of occasions, like when we played the Palladium in New York and when we played L.A., we were really, really smoking. We were really, really up there. And the guitar players, I mean, we had 3 strong guitar players.
Yeah.
And, it was so much fun for a bass player to be working behind these guys because they really knew what to do and when to do it. And it wasn't contrived. We were basically just lucky enough to know more or less what the other people were going to do at any given point in time. And so we had a lot of freedom. That was great. Loved it.
So working with Bill and then him putting you on the KISS tour, did you have a lot of run-ins with the guys in KISS back then?
Well, we knew about KISS. Billy and I knew about KISS way ahead of time because Billy and I had played at a club in Coventry called Coventry in Queens. which at the time was called Popcorn, and that was one of the first gigs that Kiss did. I don't know if they were called Wicked Lester. They might have been, but they performed there. And Sean Delaney got together with them, and he was the one that suggested kabuki makeup for them.
Okay. Did you run into them like in the office and stuff like that a lot? Were they pretty friendly to you guys?
All the time, yeah. They were very friendly, particularly Peter Criss. He was very, very nice. Gene and I knew each other, and we had been communicating for a long time. He contemplated signing a band that I had worked with a lead singer called John Montgomery. This was before he did the Van Halen stuff.
Oh, okay.
You know, cool. Yeah, but we knew each other as well. And he was an easy person to talk to. About the only person who we didn't really speak together much or run into that much was Ace. Huh. And that was until much later. And Ace, as far as I could see, was like a nice guy, too. He was very shy, though, believe it or not.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Now, Tommy said, you guys did about 10, 12 shows opening for Kiss, and Tommy said that, he said walking out there on that stage was like getting hit by a Mack truck. What was it like for you?
For me, it was the highest high that you can have. The heaviest thing that happens is when you're in the wings and you start walking towards the stage, if you have to go up a few steps before you get there. But you begin to hear the roar of the crowd. And it's not always for you.
Right.
A lot of these people are stone cold, like, fans of the headliner. And you're just like, filler before the real people come on, and that's who the people are paid to see. But we loved it. And at the time, I was very, very shy. And the biggest thing that I remember was I was totally in my element the minute that the lights went on and we had hit that first note. The only negative thing about playing in arenas and stadiums where there were like over 10,000 people is you don't get to see the faces as easily as you do when you're playing in those 1,500-seat venues like the Palladium or someplace like that.
Right.
And a lot of times you're too up high. But if you're a musician and you hit your first note, you're there, and you're just hoping that everything goes well.
Right.
I mean, we loved it. Yeah.
Now, when you guys toured...
It was the highest time that we could have as a musician.
Definitely. 2 nights at the Garden? Wow.
Yep.
When what's up?
I have to tell you one thing.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
When we played the Garden, I was living on 86th Street. And we were on a per diem. Not much money,
Right.
So, I mean, you know where the Garden is, right?
Yeah.
And you know all the trains, right? So I was living on 86th Street. So you know what I did after I finished playing the Garden, right?
You got on the train?
I got on the train to go home.
Oh, my God.
And I took my guitar with me because, like, I had a band guitar and I had my own guitar, and that was my 56, which I still have. And so I was on the train with all the people that were leaving.
Leaving the Garden, you were with the fans.
Yeah. And some of the people, noticed that I was one of the guys that had just played. And they said, "Hey, aren't you Bobbity Blah from Bobbity Blah?" And I said, "Yeah, that's me." He said, "How come you're on the train?" And so I said, "Well, because train is like, at the time, I don't remember how, let's say it was $1. And I could not afford to take a cab back."
Wow.
Well, Aucoin found out about that. And the next night that we played, we had a vintage Rolls Royce to drive me home.
Nice.
And all the other people in the band. So we thought it was cool.
Yeah, I heard Bill was very generous and, really, really put everything behind the bands that he believed in.
Yes, he did. I cannot say a bad thing about Bill Aucoin. in the manner in which he dealt with Billy and the way that he dealt with Piper.
Right. I'm so glad that he signed you guys. And, changed my life, those two records. Now, when you guys toured, really, what was that?
No, I really appreciate your saying that. That's great.
When you guys toured, did you guys change the set list up, or did you just have, the set list and that was the show every night?
We changed the set list a couple of times. Billy would work with us. There was a big difference, by the way, when we were touring by tour bus and when we were touring by plane. When you're touring with tour bus, you can really get down to the nitty-gritty. You're playing in smaller venues, and you can make changes. Like, I don't know if you ever heard anybody from the band talking about what happened when we were playing in Milwaukee.
No.
Well, Milwaukee, as far as Billy and I were concerned, was like, it was the center of beer making in the United States.
Okay,
so
yeah.
Billy came out on stage, and he had a cooler filled with beer cans. And as we were going through our set, he started bringing beer cans into the audience.
Okay, this sounds familiar. This story sounds a little familiar, but go on. Keep going.
Yeah. And apparently, Billy threw one into the upper deck, and it hit somebody in the head.
Oh, man.
And the guy was so thrilled about the whole thing. We didn't know that it was going to be illegal or that we had like all these things to worry about because nobody told us not to do it.
Right.
And that was something that, a band could do back then that would never, ever, be done again in a million years.
No, the world has changed completely.
Yeah, oh, for sure, yeah.
Okay, so now you get done with the first tour with Angel, and you go in to start doing the second record. Was there a big difference in those sessions recording that?
I think so. We had more or less, the band was like Richie and I were the rhythm section. We had 3 guitars and a lead vocalist. And by then, after the first tour, we had more or less our positions down. And it was a little bit easier to come up with our parts. Our individuality, we didn't take as many chances as we might have before because we had a better understanding of all the players.
Okay.
Alan was, as far as I was concerned, Alan was the heavy slide guitar player. Tommy was the soloist. And Billy was the lead instrumentalist and vocalist. And those positions were filled, so we more or less knew what we were going to be doing. And a couple of those songs to this day, I just look at and say, we came very close, to being a very effective 3-guitar player band, and there weren't that many of them.
No, not at all.
And roll. I always admired Fleetwood Mac for being able to do something like that.
Now, you toured after the second record. Were you happy with the results of the second one?
To a degree, yeah. There were instances where we thought that the engineering could have been better. The production could have been a little bit better. We had Al Cooper playing on Now Ain't the Time, and I really didn't like the production of that. I thought it was too cookie cutterish. Didn't seem to groove as some of the other songs, and I loved the song. I just didn't think that the backup singers were put in. It didn't sound like they had meshed together in the way that I would have liked. But we had, Little Miss Intent, and I thought Little Miss Intent was, and is, like a killer song.
Yeah, it's a great song. And one of the backup singers, didn't she work with the Stones?
Yeah, there were a couple of very, very good backup singers there. Billy and Sean Delaney, though, they were the people that were really up on that. And the other people in the band didn't really participate in the overdubbing in the manner that we had in the first album. By that time, Sean Delaney was working hand in hand with Billy, and they sort of produced that almost without us.
Huh. Now, there was talk of a third one before the end. I heard that you were going to go to England and maybe record a third one.
Yeah. I don't remember his name, but he was responsible for a lot of Queen albums. And he was the producer that we were talking about. And I know that Jerry Moss and Gil Friesen from A&M, they really, really loved the band. And they thought that we were, and I hate to use, humble pie, but they thought that we were like a humble pie or like a free. Oh. And that we were going to, like, the third album was going to be it. But there were some things that happened that we don't know. We found out later that, like, the band was going to be dissolved. Aucoin wanted to promote Billy as a solo artist, and that was that,
Did you get a call from Billy or Bill to say that the band's over? How did that happen?
Well, it was a long time ago, and we none of the band members were thrilled in the manner in which it happened. Alan had gotten tired of not being able to do what he wanted musically in the band. Richie, Tommy, and myself, we felt that we were going to be able to accomplish more and have more of a voice in the material. I mean, we're all songwriters. Richie, exceptionally, Richie has he had a DVD about 10 years ago, and every song on that is incredible, called Steady on the Steel. But we were very disappointed, heartbroken, and mad. The way that it was handled, you have to bear in mind that we're in a band and we are thinking about being able to break out.
Right.
On our third LP. You know how many LPs Peter Frampton did before he broke,
Right.
And we thought that the third one was going to be it, but we weren't given that opportunity, and we just had to move on, and that's what we all did.
Was there any songs already in the making for that third one?
There were songs that Billy and I had worked together with. To the best of my knowledge, they never went anywhere. Billy had a song called Voices from the Past. And that was really an intricate, special song. It was in a class by itself. It had so many. It was like a MacArthur Park type of deal.
Man, I wish I could hear that.
Very complex, very complicated. And I was talking to Billy about doing that song because I just felt it had so many parts that could really show how intricate songwriter he was. But he never did it. Did
you guys have a demo of it?
No. The only thing that we ever did was we rehearsed it with Jerry Hawkins and Jerry Nolan a couple of times, and it was just a beautiful song. But then Billy went on and he did his stuff, and then I thought that a lot of the stuff was very good.
By any chance, do you have or know if there is any live video of Piper?
No, not to the best of my knowledge. I stay in touch with Richie. I stay in touch with Tommy and Will, who was Alan in the band. But to the best of my knowledge, there isn't any. Had there been any videos out there, we probably would have sold a couple 100,000 more LPs, and it would probably have been a different situation. But we can never tell,
Oh, definitely. I've always told people that Piper is like a Heavy Stones. And it's still, to this day, one of my all-time favorite bands.
The only band that I heard after I left Piper that really, really reminded me to a degree of Piper, and they have a totally different singer. I really, really admire their vocalist. But the Black Crowes.
Oh, yeah.
The Black Crowes, when they groove, it's incredible. When the Black Crowes groove, it's sort of like the Small Faces grooving.
Right.
They were a tight band. They played strong rock and roll.
I totally see it now.
Yeah. And I thought that if we had done the third LP, that would have been like a Black Crowes LP.
Right. I totally see that. I never thought about it. I never put it together, but I do see it now. More of the first record. The second one was a little bit different than the first one. But I see the first one was, I can put, the Black Crowes and that first Piper record together and go, oh, I get it now.
Right. By the way, did you ever hear, oh God, what the hell was the name of it? They were a band out of Texas, and they were managed by Andrew Loog Olam, the Werewolves. Did you ever hear the Werewolves play?
No. The Werewolves?
Yeah, Werewolves. If you get a chance, if you like Piper, the Werewolves were another one of those bands that if you heard, you'd scratch your head and you'd say, how come it didn't make it?
Were they about the same time? Or were they after Piper? Or at the same time?
They were about the same time. Billy and I both knew them. They had a unique sound. They had harmonies, they had pop, and they had a brilliant guitarist who was sort of like a cross between Keith Richards and Vince Gill, if you can believe that.
All right.
I mean, amazing.
I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, you could on the internet. You should be able to, get songs like "Hollywood Millionaire" or "Lisa Lisa" if you're lucky.
All right.
I mean, but they were really right up there in terms of they had that same pocket that we did. Boy, did I want to tour with them.
I wish you would have done some more touring, more records. I'm very, very sad that it ended with just the two, but I'm happy that I got those first two.
Oh, it's the high point of my career.
Did you keep in touch with Billy at all over the years?
Believe it or not, the only thing that I did was Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, stuff like that.
And he's done well for himself?
We had we had one time where we got together, Richie and Billy and I, in New York, maybe about 10 years or so.
Oh, nice.
Ago. Yeah, we just had drinks, but other than that, not really. Billy, for a very long time, was concentrating on his career, and then he had, all I'll say is his career hit a point where it went down a bit before it went up.
Right.
And, he was touring with Ringo. I mean, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah. He did great. Have you heard the new single?
Yeah.
What do you think? I love it.
It's okay. I have preferences, though. Some of his other stuff that he had already done, I like better. I think when he goes with down and dirty rock and roll, that's his forte.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that, like, in terms of contemporary pop, if you've heard Richie's Steady on the Steel LP, I like a lot of those songs a little bit better than Billy's single. Actually, when I heard that Billy had released the song that he had, I've only heard it once, but I thought it was going to be Voices from the Past because I heard the song, and it's sort of like if you had heard a guy do a song, that was perfect.
Right.
And you want to hear him do it with a band, and he has great players working with him now. So, I just wanted him to do something that was more in the genre of like The Stroke.
Right. And the last record, the last heavy record that he did, Tell the Truth, I thought was amazing.
Me too.
I mean, there was some good rock songs on there, and I listened to that all the time as well.
Yeah, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool rock and roll fan. I mean, give me Thin Lizzy, give me Humble Pie.
Oh, definitely.
Give me Billy Squier. Yeah.
What did you do after Piper? What bands did you get into? Did you continue to play?
After Piper, there was a band that I was going to play with, and quite frankly, I wanted to get a per diem, and they weren't willing to give it to me, and that was Nectar.
Okay. I remember that band.
Other than that, I did play with a couple of bands in New York that were very blues-oriented, but after the lead singer of that band died prematurely, that was about it for me, because I was very, very dependent upon lead vocalists for the material that I was writing and for the material that we were doing. And I had this need that was not fulfilled. If I didn't have a singer who gave me the same feeling that Stevie Marriott did when he does Tin Soldier or Itchy-Coo Park, quite frankly, it's not fun for me.
Right.
And there were times when we were doing stuff in Piper that I got that feeling, that we were a kick-ass band.
You guys were.
And I enjoyed it very much.
Piper was a straight-ahead, real rock band. That's all I can say. You just a straight-ahead, real rock band, and live, it just blew you away.
Well, thanks very much.
I'm extremely happy that I got to see Piper those two tours. I wish I could have seen more, but I was like 13, 14 years old when I saw those,
Oh, you saw them at that time.
And still to this day, huge Piper fan. Did you record anything after Piper at all?
No, not really.
Do you have any? Do you have any demos from back in the early days with Piper?
No. No, Billy was the person who was dealing with the people. He was dealing with Sid Bernstein. He was dealing with all the major players in the music industry, and he had enough of an understanding of the way that the industry worked. We didn't do demos much. I mean, we did demos for Grossman, and when we did the stuff, I mean, we did everything from SIR.
Right.
SIR Studios in Manhattan. We went there. We played a couple of times. I can tell you stories about some of the people that were in the rooms next to us, Bob Marley and the Wailers, and a lot of other people that were, hanging out together with us when we were rehearsing. But, that's what we did. We, when we were in SIR Studios, we were playing live, and that was it.
Wish there would have been a third. Wish there would be a reunion, at least a one-off sometime would be amazing.
Well, I talked about that to Tommy quite recently, and I talked with Alan, and I was going to get in touch with Billy. Rich, unfortunately, has some physical limitations.
Right.
But we could work around that, and it would all have to do with if Billy was interested in doing, just a one reunion.
Yeah, I'll fly wherever. I'll be there.
Yeah, we would. I think we would all fly, and it would have to be in the genre of a place like the Groggery, or Max's Kansas City, or CBGB's type of deal.
Right.
A 400, 500 seater tops. Just to bang them out and just have some fun and drink some beer and just have a good time.
If it ever happens, somebody please let me know, because I will book my flight and I will be there.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
Well, Danny, I'm so glad and happy I got to talk with you, to hear all these Piper stories. And again, thank you for those 2 records, and maybe one day we'll meet in person.
Well, that sounds very good. I'll keep your phone number.
Please do. Please do. And if you record anything, demos or anything, I'd love to hear it.
Great. Well, thank you very much, and you have a pleasant Easter.
All right, you too, my friend. Thank you. Have a very good day.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. There he goes, my friends. The one and only Danny McGary from the band Piper. Still, again, 2 great records. If you haven't had a chance to check them out, please do. And if you like what you hear, please hit the subscribe button so you'll know when the next interview comes up. Thank you for listening to me on the Rock and Roll Station podcast.